It was the worst boxing event in the entire world. The worst thing that's ever happened for the creator economy. The worst thing that's ever happened ever.
Welcome back to Filling You In. I'm Coco, and with you is my co-host Subash, and today we have a great episode. Today we're going to be talking about creator events. Anything from Tana Con to FuziCon, and now to YouTube
Boxing.
boxing, which is
A big deal.
pretty surprising, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's just start off with I'm pretty sure it was like the first YouTube event, like official one by YouTube, and that's VidCon. And so, VidCon
Yeah.
is where YouTubers go
Yeah.
and, fans can go and meet them and then they can connect with other YouTubers
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's thrown by YouTube. So, obviously it's a well done event. They've done it pretty much every single year except for last year, which was online. I'm guessing this line will probably be online too. But I mean, yeah, have you been to VidCon?
No, like in real life?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I don't think I don't think when it was a thing, or I don't think when I kind of found out what it actually was, I don't think I even really would want to go. Like, I mean, I would go, but like, it's not
Yeah.
like at my peak interest. But I think it's definitely an interesting thing to bring up because, um, it's definitely when it comes down to like influencers and people in the social media space, especially internationally and throughout the states, it's like it's harder to meet, especially if someone is not in LA, because realistically, right? I'd say 80% of the world's largest influencers, if not 90, are based in California, just because everything is there. And New York and obviously the other states, there's people. But like, I don't know, it's just like events like VidCon bring everybody together. And I think it's just something interesting to point out because I'm glad we started with it because it's kind of like it's a founding rock as far as like YouTuber events goes for. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean VidCon. I mean, I know some people that went to VidCon, and they actually got to meet like actual creators and things like that, and so that's pretty cool. I mean, it's a well put on event. It's done by YouTube, heavily funded, so I mean, obviously it's going to be good, but sometimes they have problems, and that sparks some people to take action, and one of those people is Tana Mosho. So for those of you that don't know Tana Mosho, you probably seen her around. She was kind of in the vlog squad, or was it? She was kind of in the vlog
Yeah,
squad.
she's kind of in the vlog squad, and then after she definitely got a very large amount of followers and fame from her fake, possibly real, partially real, partially fake relationship with Jake Paul.
Well, they got married. They got married.
Yeah, they got
Yeah,
married,
or
but
married, I guess.
married. Yeah, they got married. Which I think is something we should also talk about a little bit later.
Oh yeah, I
Because
mean, I guess that's a YouTube event.
I would consider that an event as well.
Yeah.
But as far as basically the reason we're bringing up Tana Mojo, I always thought it was Monjo, like
I don't
like
even
how
know.
it's
Everybody
spelled.
just calls her
I think it's
Tana
Mojo.
Mojo.
I
So
think it's Tana.
yeah, so I mean, pretty much what happened was Tana was supposed to be going to VidCon. I don't know what year it was, but then they weren't gonna let her have this certain like badge. And so if you go to any convention, normally they'll give you like this thing and it'll say like what level you are. And they weren't gonna give her a featured creator badge. And so she was like, you know what? I think there are rumors of her like gonna do a meet and greet like in the parking lot across the street or something like that. But then she actually thought, you know what? I have this great idea. I'm gonna create a 2-day free event, and I'm gonna have my creator friends come, such as Shane Dawson, Bella Thorne, Casey Neistat, and many more. And I mean, if you were, if you had somewhat of a, hand if you had somewhat of a look inside the greater space during a couple years ago or whatever it is, it was a disaster. TanaCon was a huge fail. Pretty much what happened was they had a venue for 5,000 people and they sold about like 4,200
Yeah.
tickets, and then like 20,000 people showed up outside without a ticket. And since it was a free event, why would you pay? But I mean, yeah, so pretty much they had way more people than their venue could hold, and it was pretty much a disaster.
I mean, yeah, I think it was an interesting event. I remember seeing a lot of comments online about it. Just because like it was just such a. I think it was just weird. I think whoever executed it, because it obviously wasn't just Tana, and if it was just kind of stupidly done. Uh, there's so many things wrong with it, like you mentioned. I think when it comes down to organizing massive events like these, where lots of people are going to be watching, and especially a lot of people are going to be there in real life, uh, there's so many different things you have to consider, and I think it was definitely a really interesting and probably terribly like done like event. It was interesting to see how bad it could go because like the thing that's interesting about it is how bad it was. Like tons of fans didn't even get to like. There are people who actually paid for something, and apparently there are people like selling like fake like front of like not front of the line tickets, but fake like special access tickets or something literally at the event because it was free. And
Yeah.
there are people that were like selling like fake stuff, and then a lot of people got scammed, and stuff like that. There was Shane Dawson did a documentary about it or a little like video with her or something. I think I only watched like a highlight thing of it at the time just because it was kind of popping on Twitter when it released. I just thought it was kind of sad, and I felt bad because it looks really bad on her brand and her name because even to this day it still looks really bad, which is why things nowadays like
She
big
married Jake
YouTuber
Paul.
events. I'm just saying, relax. I'm just saying that when you think of Tana Mojo, it was like now you also obviously you think of Jake Paul, but it's like you also think of other things like that, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like that's a big deal. Like throwing an event like that is a very big deal. Um, anything else really about TanaCon,
I
in
mean,
your
I think
opinion?
the crazy thing was like people were like actually excited. And I think from her team's perspective, 4,200 tickets sold, and you have a venue that can hold 5,000, you're fine. But when 20,000 people show up, I mean, it's a problem. So you should have really just turned them away. Um, Other than that, I think the people that actually bought like paid tickets, some of them were getting in after people that like just showed up. So I mean that was a big problem. And yeah, really, it's funny. Well, it's not really funny, but what happened was about a month after, a YouTuber named Fuzi
FouseyTube. Yeah,
and
a YouTuber named FouseyTube was gonna throw an event.
yeah.
It was gonna he claimed it to be the next Coachella. I just remember how bad it turned out, and it was to take place. This is about a month after this is about a month after TanaCon, and this festival was to be take place at Los Angeles' Greek Theater, featuring Snoop Dogg and Drake. And it was like, okay, I could get Snoop Dogg showing up. Like maybe actually at the time, I don't even think FuziTube was that big to get someone like Snoop Dogg to show up to a YouTuber event. Now it's a lot different knowing that he casted the last Jake Paul fight, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Uh, but anyway, and then the Drake part. Obviously, Drake is the quite and this is unarguable. He's the biggest hip hop artist in the world. He's the biggest. Maybe you could say maybe there's no one big. There's no one statistically that's bigger than Drake. And maybe probably back when Fuzi FuziCon was happening, it was the same thing. And I remember people were like, "That is not true. That is not true. Drake is not going to FuziCon."
Well, honestly, it wasn't called FuziCon. A lot of people called it FuziCon because like right after
Oh,
TanaCon,
oh,
but it was
yeah,
called
yeah.
Hate Dies, Love Arrives. Honestly,
What kind of name is that?
honestly, I mean, I kind of
Oh
like the
my
name. I kind of like the name. It's a pretty catchy slogan.
No, it's not. It's for
Hate
a
dies, love
YouTuber
arrives.
for a YouTuber event. Huh?
Hate dies, love
Hate.
arrives.
Actually, I can get the hate dies part. I don't know. It's alright. Anyway, point
Yeah, I
is,
mean, pretty much. Tana Mosho's event was put together in like 30 to 40 days, I think the report was, and then FuziCon or Hate Dies, Love Arrives was put together in 9. Uh, so let's just get this together. He's going to put together a Coachella level event in 9 days. It's going to be free, featuring featuring Snoop Dogg and Drake. And so pretty much
yeah.
what happened was they have this event. I don't even know how many people showed up. I think it was a pretty good amount. And then there's a bomb call. Like they said, there's a bomb threat at this theater, and so they thought, okay, let's just take this event outside. And so pretty much everybody's like outside, and then Fuzikon gets up on cars, right? And he just starts preaching and doing these whole speeches about I think it was like mental health, personal growth.
I saw so many clips of that. Yeah.
I mean, the clips themselves, they're funny, but it's messed
Yeah.
up
It
because
was kind yeah.
it's super messed up because you can tell that he wasn't okay then. I know now, like I think he's way better now, but at the time, like it's sad to see.
All he does now is just all he does now is just cast YouTube boxing events and ask random YouTubers to punch him. That's literally, I'm pretty sure, all he does right now. I don't think there's anything else that he does. He just goes to random boxing like training places and asks YouTubers to punch him. And
I
he
mean,
he takes
yeah.
off his shirt and he lets them punch him. It's like
You
so
mean
it's
like
the
the one
weirdest
when
thing.
he had like Bryce Hall punch him and he could take
Yeah.
like 7 of those, and then Austin punched him once and he's like, I'm good, I'm good.
Yeah.
Gosh.
No, he did it. He did it after. He did it for the social gloves event too. He
Yeah.
literally anyway. It's just weird. I don't really watch him. I don't think there's really anything to watch of him. His
I think
content is
at
kind of
his prime,
special.
he was different level. He was hilarious. This stuff, it was super creative and things like that. He was dominating YouTube. Um,
Mm.
it's sad to see FuzzyTube like that. I mean, like the clips were nuts.
Fuzi too. I can't get over that name.
Yeah.
Fuzi. Now moving into probably the current state of YouTuber events and what pretty much every single YouTuber either wants to do or is involved in or somewhat, talked about, and that is YouTube boxing, or really at this point, influencer boxing. But it's pretty interesting. The YouTube boxing, for people who don't really understand it, because honestly it's such a weird concept to understand. It's so simple, but at the same time it sounds so stupid. So basically, for those of you who don't know what these YouTuber events are, ultimately a YouTuber and another YouTuber will challenge each other to a fight. uh it's kind of stupid at first. Like how they launch. It's kind when YouTube fights are announced, they usually sound really stupid. Or in other cases, kind of cool. But ultimately they have a huge media team, a huge promotion team, and they box each other on a given date. It's a really big deal because they sell tickets for the event. They also sell online digital streams, which we'll talk about in a bit. But basically, yeah, two YouTubers will fight. Are they good fighters? Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. The first YouTube fight that really ever happened, and people don't actually usually credit this as the first major YouTuber fight, but it's Joe Weller versus KSI. KSI being a pretty big YouTuber in the
He's the
in the
biggest
UK.
UK. I think he's
Yeah, no,
the
no,
biggest.
I think he's the biggest entertainer, influencer, YouTuber in the UK. There's no one that's really topping him. And then I don't know who Joe Weller is, but point is, um, they had a boxing event. I don't know much about it.
Did you watch
Um,
it?
no, I didn't even know what it. Well, I don't
Dude,
think I
so
knew what it
I mean,
was
I
at the
didn't
time.
yeah, I mean, I don't even know who Joe Weller is, and I really hadn't heard of KSI at the time, but I mean, it's the fight where like Joe Weller went in there and KSI was just beating him up because Joe Weller wasn't throwing back any punches and was pretty much just playing defense, like he froze. Um, and then after that, then he called out Logan and Jake Paul, or really any of the Pauls.
Yeah, he kind of called them both out.
Yeah.
Um, so the rundown of that event was ultimately Logan Paul and KSI boxed, and this was I like to credit this in my head as the first major boxing event because it was not that things that happen internationally aren't as big, but this happened in America. I did the KSI event happen in America?
Which one? The KSI versus Logan Paul?
The
I
Joe
think
Weller,
KSI.
the Joe Weller fight.
I have no clue. I think that was UK. I think the
Anyway,
Logan
yeah.
Paul versus
No, that okay, wait, yeah,
KSI
that
was
happened.
UK.
That the first fight happened in the UK, but it was involving someone that was in America, the
Okay.
Paul brothers. That's why the reason I credit that as the first major thing is because obviously Americans, like, I feel like there's just a bigger audience here for that type of thing. Um, the hype around it was probably momentally bigger. And this was also after Logan Paul's major controversy, so it was kind of a big deal because I don't know. I found it interesting.
I mean,
Anyway,
he played the villain, you know? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah,
he's hated by pretty much the entire world at this point. KSI calls him out. People want to see this guy get beat up.
yeah.
And
A
so
lot of people did not like him at that event.
it
What'd you
was
think of it?
genius.
Whether it's
The first fight,
the first fight,
I think Logan won. I mean, if you watch the fight, Logan clearly won.
yeah.
Um,
And I think it was 100% staged. Like, I think 100%. There's
well, I think they already
no
knew they're
doubt
gonna
in
do
my
a
mind.
draw,
Oh,
but I
I think there
mean,
was no doubt in my mind that there was going to be a draw. Did the
I don't
fighters
know
know that
about it.
there was
I
going to
don't
be
know
a
if it was
draw? I don't know.
staged. I don't know if it
Oh,
was
not
staged
staged.
and
Not
like,
sorry. I don't know if the fight was staged, but I think no matter. I think unless there was a knockout or a
yeah.
like, unless Logan Paul was bleeding down to the core on his face and KSI was perfectly normal, I think they were aiming to get a draw. I think not only for the marketing standpoint, but for overall, a draw would be what they wanted. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I everybody knows that. Like, it just doesn't make sense to have a winner because then, it's not that interesting anymore. Especially when it's just two YouTubers compared to like Manny Pacquiao or Floyd Mayweather. And then so, after that, then well, not we forgot to mention that Jake fought Deji. And as you guys all know, Deji the Tank Deji the Tank is unstoppable. And and he lost.
Yeah.
He lost bad. Deji sucks at fighting compared to Jake. Okay, I don't think I could take him, but Deji sucks at fighting compared to Jake. What was really crazy was the pay-per-view buys. And I think that was like 1.3 million they estimated, which is super crazy because like all the like fighting marketers or whatever were like, these are just, these are YouTubers. Like, how are they pulling these crazy numbers? And I think it was like 3.5 million from ticket sales too. So I mean, these guys were really bringing in a good amount of money. And so when they had Logan versus KSI part 2, it
Yeah.
was on Showtime. No. It was on DAZN, and they had like Eddie Hearn,
Yeah. I do
who's
remember
like
that.
the
Yeah.
guy who promotes fights or something like that. I don't know. Not
Yeah.
like
I
really,
mean,
I don't think he's that big of a deal, but like at
according to
least
Eddie
famous for
Hearn,
YouTube.
it sold more than 1.3 million
Yeah.
pay-per-views.
I mean, I would
Um,
guess so.
I would guess so. I think at the time, dude, there was so much hype around it. I even remember, not I bought it, but one of my friends bought it, and he wasn't
Yeah.
really involved in the YouTuber world. But after that fight, it just built so much hype, and it was a year later. That was such a good event. Personally, I thought I didn't really care who won. I thought it was still really good. Um, it was still pretty cool to see Logan Paul get in that ring. Especially considering all of his controversies and still do that. And he had a pretty interesting speech at the end of the fight too. What are your thoughts on like the not behind the scenes, but like when it comes to influencers going to these events and like what it does for the social media climate and what it does for the community?
Well, I mean, social media influencers are the new celebrities. Like before it was only you got to be in a movie or a TV show or something like that to, you know, be a celebrity. And now you're seeing as like the 16-year-old kid, 17-year-old, 15 even maybe. Oh no, like 9-year-old, like Ryan Tour Reviews is like super young. And then
Yeah, yeah.
and he makes lots of money and he's super famous.
Yeah, no, I think definitely when it comes to these, yeah, everyone is a celebrity nowadays, and I feel like everyone in their way is their own movie. Like all their own individual content is like that's what's making them famous. Like they're making their own movies, which is making them
Yeah.
famous. Example YouTube, example TikTok, right? I think something that's really cool about these events is that all these influencers, there's so many connections that are made. So many, if it's pretty interesting. Something that was noticed after all of these events is that afterwards, like for people who went to these events and met a lot of people, went to parties, gatherings, or even the event itself, um the amount of people that they follow on social media almost added like 1/4, 25% of their following onto it. So like, if let's say someone followed 100 people, they would leave the event with 125 following 125 people. I know that's like a little math thing, but basically they end up following a whole lot of new people because it's a whole lot of new connections that they made. And I think this sparks so many incredible like collaborations and possible other events in the future. Because I think for the when a lot of especially smaller influencers go to these events, you know, they are inspired. Like even if you're still famous, you go to these boxing events and you see what influencers or kids just like you have done. You know, it sparks a lot of motivation and creativity for future events that they want to put on themselves in the future to go down. And I think there that energy that occurs in these events is something that you can't find in any other place. Especially when it comes to, you know, brands and influencers and other, you know, YouTubers and creators connecting with each other.
Yeah, I mean, these events and the difference behind all these like boxing events versus, Tana Con and FuziCon is they're well put together. Like
Yeah.
the live stream and all that and handling of all the things. Like I remember you telling me how you're reading this article about how they have this room and it's just a room dedicated of it's a room full of people who are dedicated to, like taking down illegal streams pretty
Mm.
much, like people streaming the fight when they're not supposed to, and it's like an entire room
And it's
and
not even at the
just
event. It's an offshore. They do it on offshore, not offshore, but like off-site warehouses full of people on computers scouring the internet for people. And YouTube gives these people access to their entire website. Literally, YouTube is like, here's our website. You guys go ahead, feel free to take down anything related to your event. We don't care. Just you have ultimately like God permissions on our site to do whatever you want.
yeah, I mean, it, worrying about something that little really just shows like how much they care about the event, like how much different it is compared to the other ones. Like they have teams of people working on an event, not just like FuzzyTube in 9 days or Tana in 30. I mean, big
These are
difference.
massive production teams. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, reading off some of the numbers like Jake versus Nate Robinson, 1.2 million pay-per-view. This is all
Yeah.
reportedly Jake versus Askren, Ben Askren, 1.5 million pay-per-views. According to
Uh
Jake, it was 75 million generated, but Dana White, head of U head of
CEO. CEO of the
CEO of
UFC
UFC, says it's
said that
cap.
it was I don't think maybe that was from pay-per-views, but whether it's from sponsors or people that were doing things to the event, I would not be surprised if they pulled in around that range. Maybe it's a little bit of a, you know, pretty massive roundup.
Yeah.
If it was if he said it was 50 million, I would not be surprised. If he's 70 million is a little bit of a reach, but like 50 million, I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah.
But you know, there's other events like Jake Paul versus Gib and Jake versus Nate Robinson, which were I don't really care about them. I think they were interesting, but again, Jake Paul dominant in the space that is YouTube boxing. Um, not really much to talk about there. Oh, so cool events, pretty similar to the other two. And yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. The Askren fight was something that was definitely hyped up a lot, and I found it even more interesting that Logan Paul had Ben Askren on his own podcast, considering you know Jake Paul is his own brother. That was a really good episode. I liked it a lot. And I think that showed a lot in Ben Askren. But to be honest, I did not think Ben Askren was gonna win. And even he's I think he's even said it like in a way himself and other people. He was there for the payday. Obviously that's just YouTube like drama, and that doesn't really, you know, that's kind of interesting, which is something we'll talk about when we get to a more recent event, when it comes down to paydays. But I mean, I think it was a good event. I think, you know, it was okay. I it wa- but the interesting thing though is the money part of it. It sold more than, you know, the Logan and KSI fights, both one and two, not combined, but one and two, and other fights that have been put on.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I don't know. I got these statistics off of like Google and stuff like that, but it's hard to tell what the numbers actually are. I don't think the Nate Robinson fight was for anything other than money. I mean,
Yeah.
Nate got put to bed. Gib, same thing. It's kind of a fight, but Jake just uses their faces as punching bags. And the one against Ben Askren, the second that guy went on stage for the weigh-in, I knew he lost
Yeah.
because he
I saw
looks not
I'm
in good
sorry.
shape.
He didn't look like a dad. He straight up looked like a dad, bro. A
He
dad about to go cook some steak on the barbecue, bro. He did not look like he's about to get in that ring. I was
he
like,
looked like
you are
he
getting knocked
yeah.
out. I was
It,
like,
it
you were here for the payday. It is very obvious that you did maybe 3 or 4 boxing lessons within the past 2 months to prepare for this fight, and
maybe
you
two.
maybe yeah maybe two, and you definitely were not here to you did not come here absolutely wanting to win. Like it was obvious. It's so obvious. It's so obvious.
I
Um
mean, yeah,
yeah.
but he did a good job like promoting and stuff. Like he was doing like workouts to like Rocky and stuff like that, and he's playing his whole role as
Oh
like
yeah. He's
just a
so
cool dude, like fantastically. The funniest thing was like a couple hours before the fight or whatever, he was promoting this new like boxing machine, and he was like throwing punches and stuff like that, and they were so weak. And I don't know if he wasn't
yeah.
trying to break the machine or anything, but they were so slow and weak. And I was like, gosh, it's over. Like I think I may know some people, and personally, I think I could probably throw a faster punch, faster than that video,
Yeah.
because that was terrible.
I think before we get into the Logan versus Mayweather event, let's just kind of touch quickly on the Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley, since we're kind of on the Jake Paul train. That is going to happen in 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks. I think that's going to be a pretty cool event. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jake's gonna win. And I mean, here's the thing. Tyron Woodley, I was watching some of his highlights and stuff like that. He was a beast. I think he's like 3-time UFC champion or something like that. I don't know what weight category. Like he's a beast. But he hasn't won a fight in like 3 years, or like at
Yeah,
least a professional fight. So whether or not, and plus he was like MMA, like UFC is MMA or something like that. Or I don't even know if it's UFC or if it was MMA, to be honest. Don't fact check me on that. Or fact check me on that actually. But yeah, I mean, he's gonna lose, I think.
Hmm.
Tyron Woodley's a great fighter, but it's
Jake Paul
boxing.
needs to fight some real fighters. And that's something that's been kind of been brought up because I mean, like he's just fought pretty much like wrestlers and now MMA fighters. I would like to
Retired
see.
boxers,
Yeah,
non-athletes,
yeah,
guys who suck at boxing, or I guess not on his level, like not on his
yeah.
level.
No one. I don't think anyone that was actually a strong competitor opponent. I think the fight's gonna go by pretty smoothly. I'm excited to see what happens with it. Um, Now onto pretty much I would say this is where like barriers were broken. Like this is insane. If you were to tell me that this event was to happen at the first, like if you were like, hey, back in 2020 whatever, when Logan Paul fought KSI for the first time, if you're like, hey, in 4 to 5 years or however long it's been, 3 to 4 years, Logan Paul is going to be fighting Floyd Mayweather on June 6th at the Hard Rock Stadium, I would be like, no way. Floyd Mayweather is for our generation, like, of quite possibly the most iconic player, boxer of all time.
Goat.
A goat. He's a goat.
Disputed.
Like,
Uh,
it,
like
no, I don't
you
think it's
can,
disputed. I think even Floyd Mayweather's opponents, maybe aside from Conor McGregor, have all admitted that Floyd Mayweather is the goat. He is the goat. He is a goat. He
yeah,
is
but I mean, I don't know. It's so confusing because with sports and talking goats and stuff like that, especially in boxing
yeah,
when there's different weight categories, like Mike Tyson versus Floyd Mayweather, who's winning, like
yeah,
prime.
Mike.
I mean, I wouldn't want to get in the ring with either of them.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the event. I think personally, I was there.
Oh yeah.
I went to the event. Uh, it was my birthday present. Uh, Probably the coolest birthday present I've ever received. I was able to go to the event in Miami. It was super cool to see what it was like there. The climate is so much different than it is like obviously online. Online, you don't really hear the crowd and you can't really feel the energy of the stadium, but everybody was at every time Jake Paul, basically anything to do
Logan.
with Jake Paul. No, Jake.
Oh, Jake.
I'm talking about Jake.
Okay.
Anytime Jake Paul and any relevance was shown on the screen, like you know how like when they cut to like family members while the
Yeah.
fight is happening, the whole crowd would just boo. Like
Yeah.
absolutely hate Jake. And I think you could even hear it on TV. But point is, regardless of me being there, I think it was still one of both online and in person, the coolest YouTuber boxing event that has ever happened. Like ever.
Well, I think it was the biggest because it was like mainstream. Like you said, now you're having this you know, big time guy, Floyd Mayweather, who makes
The
millions of dollars
biggest,
per fight.
biggest, yeah.
Yeah. I
As
mean,
far as payday goes, the biggest, yeah.
yeah, I mean, they're getting together and they're doing their fight. One of the best things from that fight was gotcha hat.
Yeah. I think Jake, obviously the Paul brothers, specifically Jake Paul's marketing. It's just so funny. And it's also
Jake more
really, if
than
you,
Logan.
Jake more than Logan, he's just because he's a troll. And I think when it comes, and we'll get more into the trolling aspect of these events in a little bit after we kind of talk about more how cool this event was. I remember the other day I was thinking about, I was like, Logan Paul, vlogger, fought Floyd Mayweather, GOAT. Like that, it was just insane. I thought there should have been judges at the fight, but I can kind of understand in Floyd Mayweather's perspective not wanting to have to leave with a certain winner, and because that would have a dent in his career if he lost. And he did lose. He didn't. I think he did not win. I will.
Seconds for the rest of your life. Let's go. Got your career.
I think that I felt like that ruined the moment. I felt like that absolutely ruined the moment when I saw them on the thing. But I thought that was such a cool event. Good for insane for Logan Paul going from.
Yeah.
We'll definitely do an episode on them in the future. And maybe one day have one of them or both on the podcast. It'll happen. But I think just going from being the most hated person on the internet, especially after all those controversies, to fighting Floyd Mayweather, that's a massive,
Yeah.
massive, massive W. Like comeback story of the century, really.
Yeah. And regarding the pay-per-view, I think Dana White said it was like 1 million plus or something like that. But that kind of seems a little low for
That
Floyd
seems way
Mayweather.
too low.
That seems low.
Yeah, for a Floyd fight, I feel like that's low. Um,
Yeah. And I
yeah.
I don't know, with these events, they're not gonna I don't know why they'd release the pay-per-view just because,
In UFC fights, Dana White will sit on a table afterwards and literally just tell people what the PPVs were and how much the fight made. And I think that's and all the purses for the fights are fully public. I think that's something that I like a lot because it just shows how big the business is. But I think at the same time, when it comes down to a fight perspective, like fights, like the Floyd versus Logan fight, um, I just don't think it might be necessary, especially since the fight really wasn't super relevant to money. When it comes to UFC, especially in the trash talk, money's a pretty relevant thing. But like, I don't know. I personally, I just didn't think it would have added really anything to the fight as far as like hype goes. Like, oh, I'm leaving the fight with $100 and X million. Like, cool.
Yeah.
Does that mean you're a good fighter? No. Like, you could still be trash. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. The event was great, I thought. I mean, yeah, I mean I thought the fight was Jake Paul. I'd watch a show if it was just Jake Paul because it's that funny. Like
He
just
is funny.
his posts on Instagram too, like after the fact, were so funny. Got your career,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I know I mentioned it before, but like got your career and stuff like that is so funny.
Yeah, it's funny. But I think there's a major person in the fighting community that has influenced literally all of the fighters, and I think we all know who that person is. Probably the most notorious fighter in UFC. The person I'm talking about is Conor McGregor. If you've seen any of his press conferences pre-UFC fights, he'll just stand up and absolutely trash the crap out of whoever he's about to fight. He's so funny. I find him so funny. And if you compare Jake Paul to Conor McGregor side by side, you can see Jake is literally just a knockoff wish version of Conor McGregor, in my opinion. When it comes down to his humor pre-fights, you can see he's obviously influenced by Conor McGregor, and that's just my opinion. And I think that whole trash talk behavior is so good for marketing because it hypes it up so much. Every funny thing said about your opponent is just going to get clipped, and that's just more views and more attention coming to the fight. But I mean, yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, with that whole thing, really, trolls can sell a lot. I mean, 6ix9ine, the rapper, Jake Paul, Conor McGregor, even Floyd Mayweather plays the villain because he's so good that people hate him. So I mean, I don't know. It's pretty simple. They sell lots of pay-per-view buys. They make lots of money, and they fight. And I mean, these events so far have all done well, like money wise and pay-per-view wise, and just for the press and image of the creators. But recently there was another event put on by creators, and that was TikTok versus YouTube. And I'm what are your thoughts on that? Because I mean the whole situation is kind of
An
wild.
absolute disaster. It was the worst boxing event in the entire world, the worst thing that's ever happened for the creator economy, the worst thing that's ever happened ever. And that's all post fight, obviously. Pre fight, super cool. Like, I thought it was going to be such a great event. Wait, hold on. Bryce Hall fighting Austin McBroom. Like, that's a pretty interesting fight. But post fight, everyone could just see how terribly executed this was. Pre-fight, there were a lot of like things said by not only like the fighters, but by the event itself. Like, so many big and high expectations for what's gonna happen, and like also promises too financially for the fighters. And post-fight, the execution was terrible. What happened even during the fight, like, I don't know. I think it was especially with the whole situation with uh Gibb fighting Taylor Holder. They literally recalled the results of the fight post fight, which I thought was kind of stupid because, like,
It was
who
obvious.
cares?
I
It was
Well, the thing is,
obvious.
it's kind of
Yeah,
obvious. Like we already know who won. Like,
it was obvious, but like, why?
yeah,
Like, why did you? First of all, it was nice that they recalled it for all the fans, but like at that point, like, who cared? I remember when the announcement released, like people on Twitter were like, you should have announced this a minute after the official fights were released. Like, you should have announced this at the event. Like, oh, it got recalled. That would have built a lot of buzz. That would have been something people talked about. Now, a week later after the event, nobody cares. Like, I didn't care. I was like, it would have been cool to see it at the event or maybe even like an hour after it happened. But like now, I don't even care. I don't even care.
and pre-fight when Bryce Hall and Austin McBroom had their little thing, and then what's his name, Bradley Martin got in the middle, and then like actually Fuzi was there. I think he
Yeah.
was like MC or something
No,
like that.
he was the moderator for the he I'm pretty sure he and Keemstar are the moderators for the, and to be a moderator of a fight, like those guys' careers, well, especially Keemstar, are based off of drama. Like,
Yeah,
why are they moderating? Why, like, I
yeah,
don't know. Yeah.
yeah.
What do you think?
I mean the whole thing was, it was horribly organized. Number one, I mean, Danny Duncan was supposed to fight. I don't think he fought actually. I think he
He
dropped
didn't.
out,
He
as
dropped out,
well
and so
as
did
Tanner Fox. Was it Tanner
Tanner
Fox?
Fox. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so those guys drop out. Those are big names with actual audiences that are above seven. And I mean, I don't know. Other than that, and people were promised like hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars before the fight. And what happened was they were expected to do 2.2 million pay-per-view buys, and they actually did 136,000 or something like that, just because, like how you said, because of the piracy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so the company Social Gloves files for bankruptcy. You know, Pretty much everybody's not really paid out yet. And it's revealed that Austin McBroom, the title fighter, was the CEO of Social Gloves. And so, I mean, I don't know. The whole thing is like really messed up. The whole situation. It's still, you know, up to debate and whatever to see what happens in the future, whether or not these YouTubers and TikTokers will get paid.
I think something will come out about them getting paid in the future. Will it be what they were promised? Definitely not. But also post fight, I think the biggest like product of the fight would have to be Vinny Hacker. If you don't know who Vinny Hacker is by now, he is probably the biggest person on at least recently on TikTok. The biggest product as far as a career goes out of the fight. He fought Deji, which was just an utter embarrassment for Deji. Just was. It was just sad, kind of. I think he maybe in the beginning he was okay, but later on it was just sad. But he lost, and Vinny Hacker is now every girl wants to have Vinny Hacker. He's very popular. He's yeah, he's a star now. Thanks to the event, I would say. I think he gained at least 4 million followers after the event.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
up to date.
yeah, that I don't know, winners and losers of the event and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it's over. I mean, we've seen good events, we've seen bad events, and what do you think the next event will be?
think the next, well, I don't know what the next event will be. I think Jake Paul is going to keep climbing up his chain of people he wants to fight.
Yeah.
But personally, I think we're going to see another two TikTokers fight very, very, very soon. I think before the end of the year, I think a TikToker versus TikToker fight will be announced for the beginning of 2021. And I think this is a major prediction. This could possibly be our cold open. I think by 2023, Jake Paul and Logan Paul will have a fight. I think they're gonna fight each other. Uh, it will be the biggest fight, probably bigger than the Floyd fight. I think it will be much bigger than the Floyd fight. They both said they didn't want to fight each other, but recently, over the past few weeks, they've been teasing a fight with each other, like talking about fighting each other. I think it's definitely in the works. I would not be surprised if it was not in the works right now. It would be such a huge, massive, insanely big event. I don't really the reason that they said they wouldn't do it is because the last time that they beefed with each other in their iconic beef back in the day, their relationship was super damaged, and they're like they don't want that to happen again. But I think regardless, it's going to happen again. Or not happen again. I mean, I think they're going to beef with each other again, but I think this fight is going to happen and it's going to be legendary.
I mean, I think it's gonna be staged, like a whole bunch of like insults and stuff. It's gonna have to be.
Oh, maybe
And
the
I mean,
marketing will be. I don't think the fight is going to be. Maybe
no, not the
obviously.
fight, not the fight, but the whole thing, like when they're clashing back in the day and doing all those diss tracks, is that's what made them popular. And I mean, so I don't know if you really regret that, because I mean, it got them where they are today. I agree, sort of. I could see that, but then again, I don't know. That would be a good fight though. I think Logan would win that fight.
I would buy that fight.
Yeah.
I would buy that fight. I would buy that fight.
Yeah, I think what
because I bought all the ones that have previously been happening.
yeah
100%. But this is one that I would certainly buy. 100%. That would be such a
nice.
good fight.
Yeah. I think there's gonna be like a TikTok artist, like like people that do like musical artists like event, and it's gonna be like a festival. Or there's gonna be like a TikTok con. Because I
Oh,
mean there's
sorry. I was only thinking about what's it called? Boxing. But yeah, no, I think there's definitely gonna be a
yeah, I think there'd be a TikTok
con
con.
talk.
I think there's gonna be a yeah, like I said, like a music festival with all those TikTok artists. Like Bella Porch is a TikTok artist. Like,
I personally wouldn't I wouldn't establish her as an artist yet because just my opinion, but I wouldn't establish Bella Porch as a TikTok artist because sure she has two pretty big songs out, but in my head I still think of her as M to the B, M to the B, M to the B,
mm,
like what versus Dixie D'Amelio. Like I no longer think of her
oh
as
my
Charlie's sister.
gosh. Let's
No,
not
no,
even
no,
get
no,
into
no,
Dixie
no,
D'Amelio.
no. But now I think her of as sometimes I don't want to be right. Now I think of her as that. When I think of Dixie, I think of her music career.
When I think of
When I think
Dixie
of Bella,
D'Amelio, I think that's Charlie D'Amelio's older sister.
nah, I don't.
Like when on Family Feud, they had they say like who you are, so it was like Charlie D'Amelio, TikTok star, and then Dixie's was Charlie's sister
That's so mean.
on like
I don't
Family
know.
Feud. It was
I
so
think
funny.
I think I could definitely see that music festival situation happening.
Yeah.
That's definitely promising. I think the future of VidCon is strong, especially post pandemic. I think they're gonna come back with a bang.
Yeah.
Um, also an event that we didn't really mention is TwitchCon. Basically it's VidCon for Twitch
Mm.
streamers. There's nothing really to it really.
Oh,
I don't know.
nice. I don't know.
Yeah. It's not really. I think it's not really in as much in the limelight as like in the spotlight. Sorry, as YouTube events are, but it's also pretty big. But I think post pandemic, especially as things start to really open up, I think 100% big events like this, and I would really love to see a TikTok event. I think that'd be super sick.
Yeah. I mean, well, here's a question. Like, who's the creator that you want to throw an event, and what would that event be?
I low key feel like the boxing thing is eventually gonna get old.
Well, I think it's
Um,
gonna have to. I mean, it's been going on for years
yeah,
now. It's getting
I think
boring.
I think when it comes to the Paul brothers, it's kind of entertaining. But when people who have never really ever talked about boxing or new people entering the space, it just seems super awkward.
Yeah.
Um, You know what I mean? Like every Paul brothers fight is gonna be interesting, obviously depending on the opponent. But there's gonna be hype. Like if a random person enters the boxing ring, it's just kind of awkward in my opinion. I don't know. That's just me though.
I don't know, but yeah. So who's the creator though that you
Oh, the
think?
creator. I think David Dobrik.
Okay, and what though?
I think David Dobrik, and also I think Aiden Ross said he was gonna fight. He's a Twitch streamer.
Oh my, not Aiden Ross.
I don't want to say it, but he's low. His hype is low key building down. I think it's easily recoverable where it is right now. But I think he like during like midsummer, I couldn't go a day without seeing something on the internet related to Aiden Ross. Like
Mm,
now, nah. I don't think he's really been pushing out anything that's insanely like contentable or clippable. But
yeah.
like back in the day, like midsummer this year, everything was Aiden Ross. There
Mm.
was nothing on the internet that had nothing to everything had to do with Aiden, which was pretty interesting in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think would be a great event is something with PewDiePie because I mean he's the biggest individual, creator,
I
biggest
know. I just
YouTuber.
feel like
T series
I
you
feel
don't
like
count.
I feel like his audience wouldn't really be into that. You know what I mean?
No, but like the thing is, he used to do like these things, and then did you see that clip of him like singing "Take on Me"? Um, it's hilarious, but yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
because PewDiePie is an interesting guy, and I'm sure we'll be doing a interview. Interview in the future, but
Interview
but I mean,
episode. Yeah. I'm not. Yeah. An episode breaking down his
yeah,
come
yeah,
up.
yeah.
I think. I think we're gonna see a music artist box a influencer. I think it's pretty sick. To see this happening. All right, guys. Without further ado, that is going to be the end of today's episode on YouTuber and influencer events. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, be sure to go down on YouTube and drop a like and subscribe as well. We appreciate everybody who does so. If you guys are over on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review and write something nice, and we will really appreciate it. Spotify, drop a follow. And follow us on Instagram as well. We're trying to build up our community over on Instagram. That's at FYI podcast _.
Yeah, so I mean, we're starting school in a couple of days, and I mean, we're gonna try and get out 2 episodes every single week. We're
We
gonna try our
are.
very
We
best.
are, bro. We are. Don't say we try. Try is such a subjective word in my opinion. We are. We are getting out 2 episodes a week. It's going to happen. I'm gonna push him to do it. And even though I literally really can't do anything physically to enforce that, I'm gonna do everything in my power to make sure we get 2 episodes out a week. To everyone out there who's listening, who is about to go, into school or who maybe is already in school, we wish you guys the best of luck. We're going to do a full episode breaking down our thoughts on school in the future, as well as a back to school episode, which that might be next week or the week after.
Yeah, and so that's pretty much it. Thank you for allowing us to fill you in, and we will see you in the next episode.